Welcome, everybody. We are Op-Eds. My name is Kirk Olaseski. I'm joined by Georgine Withrow. Some of you know her as Georgine Stoops. Our initial host, Greg Bichero, is not with us. Hopefully, he'll be back with us in our next podcast. If not, we may have some rotating guests. Okay, thank you for joining us. For this episode, we really just wanted to kind of update on the vaccines because we're kind of waiting for Greg to come back into the fold here. Last time, a couple of really good highlights. Georgine talked about a registry for vaccines and pregnancy, okay? Pregnant women are able to get vaccinated. There's a registry that tracks their progress. There have been no problems indicated yet. And so what we learned is that we can trust what's out there, okay? We also learned about the science behind it all. That's kind of like my place for all of this. Just hopefully what we want everybody to get from this is some ease, okay? We want you to learn that we can trust the science, we can trust the medicine, and that we have to kind of get away from like what is growing culture of misinformation, which we will actually get to. Georgine, you are our research expert, okay? You have emerged as that, so I'm going to turn it over to you. Please go ahead and enlighten us of some of the latest developments in the vaccines.
Awesome. Okay, so there's a couple things I want to cover. First, I want to cover the fact that Clark County in Las Vegas and San Diego, California, have both declared that misinformation about COVID-19 is a public health crisis. Clark County put out a statement saying that they should commit to combating health misinformation and curb the spread of falsehoods that threaten the health and safety to our residents. While it is essential for public agencies to provide a forum for people to commit or comment and give input on issues that impact them, it is critical that the information impacting the health and safety of the public be based on proven science and accurate data. It seems to be a lot of misinformation going around about COVID, which is why, of course, is the reason that we wanted to start these podcasts off about the vaccinations. Let's see here. It looks like, all right, so I'll move on to the next statement. Some of this is, this other thing that I have in here is about Las Vegas. But anyway, the CDC, what I did was I really went to their website, and that's where I got most of the information. Only because it seems like by the time that some of these groups, they get it and they go through it and they put it out in their own words, they seem to forget some things and twist other things around, which I think is responsible for some of the misinformation. But the CDC clearly says that they're still learning a lot about COVID and vaccines, or the COVID vaccine. They said they're still learning how well the vaccine protects people with weakened immune systems, including people who take medicines that suppress the immune system. They're also still learning about COVID, how long COVID-19 vaccines protect people, how many people have to be vaccinated against the COVID vaccination before how many people have to be vaccinated against the COVID-19 before the population can be considered protected, which they refer to as population immunity. Most of us, I think, have heard it as herd immunity. And also, they're still learning about the effectiveness of the vaccines against new variants of the virus that cause COVID-19. So even with as much that they have learned, they still are learning things. So that's why the information always changes. Sometimes we hear one thing, a couple of weeks later, we hear another thing. It's not that they're, it's just, it's research will prove some things and discount other things. So that's why things are always changing as far as the information that we get. I did want to talk a little bit about the side effects from the vaccine. A lot of people are concerned about those vaccines and the side effects. So there are a few of them. The two major side effects that are caused by the vaccine are anaphylaxis, which is like an allergic reaction, and it is treated with an EpiPen. So that's why when you get the vaccine, they ask you to stick around for 15 to 20 minutes because they want to make sure that you don't have that allergic reaction. Another thing is the thrombosis, which is blood clots, and that's more specifically with the J&J vaccine. Again, a lot of people were leaning towards that J&J vaccine because it was only one shot. But in all honesty, even though its thrombosis is very rare, what they're saying is they're warning women between the ages of 18 to 49 to be cautious. But it's only occurring at a rate of 7 people per 1,000 vaccinated people. So, I mean, the percentage is obviously really low. Let's see. And then
that particular case, we've actually looked into that. That's estrogen related. And so that's what the problem is. There is an
okay.
estrogen level relationship to that. And that's why that's the one group that has the caution for that.
And you know, and that makes sense because what I also found was, let's see here, I just saw this a second ago. So they're telling women between the ages of 18 to 49 to be extra cautious about that side effect. But they're saying for women and women over the age of 50 and men of all ages, this adverse event is even more rare. So, which I found interesting because I don't know, I didn't realize that there would be a cutoff there. As far, I would think that the older generation would have that problem more. But you're right, Kurt. Like they said here,
Women-
it is
Women on estrogen replacement therapy have had that reaction. So
okay.
that's been shown. That's the cause.
Gotcha.
So
Yes,
that's
it,
why the younger group, would have the higher levels.
yeah, and that makes sense. Yeah, that makes sense.
ERT.
Okay, so what the CDC said was, as of September 15th, 2021, there were more than 14.7 million doses of the J&J vaccine given in the United States, and there have been 47 confirmed reports of those thrombosis, those blood clots. So the other number was higher a little bit. But what it all comes down to is that those are reported cases. And then after the CDC investigated it, then they found that the total number so far confirmed was 47 out of 14.7 million doses. So that's even lowers that percentage as well as far as that side effect. Let's see here. And there were 2 confirmed cases of the blood clots with the Moderna vaccination. But that was after 367 million doses. So again, that's very minimal there. A couple other side effects that can happen from the vaccine is Guillain-Barré syndrome. Let's see here, but they say that most people, it's very rare. These cases of side effects with that Guillain-Barré, usually after 2 weeks, they do disappear. Let's see, and they're usually in people over 50. So the younger groups have not seen problems with that.
Yes, that too has a genetic link that is like an age-related autoimmune problem.
Okay.
linked to that. So if you have a higher genetic propensity to have that autoimmune problem, age-related autoimmune problem, which some people do, I think it's linked to that. There's something about that.
Okay, well, thank you for that. Yeah, you know,
They all have some, all the adverse reactions have some sort of link to some genetic weakness, or weakness is probably not a good word, but
Right.
probably some sort of genetic link to it.
Gotcha. Yeah, you know, and these are very rare. You know, like I said, what I did was I just went to the CDC website. It really didn't go into much detail as far as that. It really just, I guess, where the page that I got this from is just mostly about the stats, and some info there that they filled in. Let's see, they're still saying, of course, that vaccinations, that deaths are rare from the vaccinations. Let's see, I had a number here. Okay, so again,
deaths? Are there any deaths, direct deaths related to the vaccine?
that's actually, yeah. Well, okay, so again, the way this works is they have.
Oh, we talked about this, I think, actually, and there's something weird about it. Go ahead.
Yeah, okay, so this, all right, let me read you that, because I copied and pasted this sentence here, a couple sentences. It says reports of death after COVID-19 vaccinations are rare. More than 386 million doses of COVID-19 vaccines were administered in the United States from December 14th, 2020 through September 20th, 2021. During this time, VAERS received 7,899 reports of deaths, which is 0.002%. But again, VAERS is not really, you know, that's where doctors go to report that something happened. And then once the CDC receives that report, then they investigate it. So even though they received you know, 7,899 complaints about deaths. I mean, people die all the time, you know, and it, you know, and that's really, I think, really is what they're finding out, that you know, these complaints after. Wait, let's see here. I had a number somewhere.
There's just no possible way that people are dying from getting
vaccinated. No, and that's what they're saying, and that's what they're saying.
That, weakened immune systems to begin with, and these are people who have genetic weaknesses.
Exactly.
And this is what, you know, this is where the pushback comes from. I think we have enough numbers on this here. The sad thing about all this is that, you know, the current numbers, you know, people hear the 65%. People hear 65% of the nation is vaccinated, but that's one dose. And people don't hear that there's only 56% of the nation fully vaccinated. And that's what they need to hear, because we're not going to win with only 56% of the people vaccinated. Mm-hmm. What we need to do is get an understanding of, you know, where's that pushback? Why? Okay? Mm-hmm. Why? What are the factors? I mean, again, like I brought this up last time, in that I can understand it. You know, we are Americans. We are, you know, born, you know, to be free and to love our liberties and so forth. But I don't understand the stubbornness, and sometimes I do have to say, sometimes the irrationality behind it. So we, you know, and I don't think this is something that you and I can actually.
No, and a number that is very promising is new study finds that vaccinated people who have who get breakthrough cases of COVID-19 have a 49% lower risk of developing long-haul COVID-19, which is something too that people need to take into consideration. And this long haul, you know, so many times we hear about COVID and the death rate. There's a lot of COVID just isn't about death. You know, it lingers for a long time with people, you know, between the damage in the lungs and the hearts, You know, people have to get transplants, lung transplants, just all kinds of things. So, you know, even the survivors, even if you do survive, that doesn't necessarily mean that you're completely out of the woods, because you could months later have long haul COVID. And they're even saying that people who have that they're finding that people who have the easier the cases that aren't so severe are the ones that end up with that long haul, or more often have that long haul. And that's something to be concerned about too, because again, you know, there's a lot of people who are suffering with that.
So what are the characteristics of the long haulers? That's what we have to let people understand. Are these people who are overweight, people who are obese? Because those are the first people dying. There's direct, I mean, we did statistics on this in my classes, and we actually tracked this. And the first thing to emerge was that something like 90% of all COVID-19 related deaths, the patients had hypertension. So then the question was, okay, it's a respiratory problem, so that would automatically cause the blood pressure to go up. So did the COVID-19 cause the hypertension, or did these people have hypertension before they got COVID and died? And then that's what emerged, because what emerged next was that overweight and obese people were the people who were dying. And everyone who is overweight, obese has these cardiac related risk factors. Hypertension is one of them, you know, so that's a major problem. And so do the long haulers have these same type of characteristics? Do we know? Are these people who are obese, people who are potentially have COPD? Do you know? That's probably something. No, I'm just, that's like a
Sure.
rhetorical, and then I just like, you know, maybe you know because you do all the facts.
And you know,
By the way, everybody, Georgine is an expert on research. She's very, very quick with it. Like I said, she has emerged as that person.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
We probably should wrap up here in about 5-10 minutes. So what do you want to, is there anything different that you want to address, or do we just want to kind of reinforce?
Well, you know, I think there seems to be a lot of questions about kids going to school with masks. You know, a lot of people are critical of wearing masks, and I understand that. I mean, I remember growing up, you know, we would see people in other countries wearing masks, and you know, it's just not something we ever did usually in our country. If we seen somebody wearing a mask, then we usually thought, oh, they must be sick. So, you know, I understand that there's that stigma that used to go along with the mask wearing. And I think that's what part of this problem is. Now, I don't know.
Oh, it is. I agree with you right there. I mean, we're from the East Coast. When I moved to the West Coast and had more of an experience of the Asian culture, and I would see Asian people wearing a hospital mask. I didn't know. So I asked, you know, I didn't ask somebody wearing a mask. I asked somebody else. I was like, okay, what does this mean? And they said they're sick. And it's like their culture is very respectful of other people, and so they try to prevent other people from getting sick. And so yes, absolutely, masking, if you don't mind, masking, I totally agree. It needs to be done. I also totally agree. It's not our culture. I was like, oh man, I hate this. I even hate it now. You know, I'm the person not wearing the mask, walking across a parking lot, but I'll wear the mask when I'm in a store and things like that. If I'm not near anybody, I don't wear one. When I'm near somebody, I do. But yeah, I completely understand it. But I think the misunderstanding with them is that people think they're going to prevent you from getting sick, and it just doesn't do that. And that's the misunderstanding. It's like it does prevent the spread. And then,
Right.
come on, you get the vaccine, it prevents you from more than likely going to the hospital. But if you do go to the hospital, was it like 97% you don't die? So
Right.
anyway, please.
But there was a cruise ship that had a really bad breakout of COVID.
Another one?
Pardon me?
Is this a recent?
I'm not
This
sure.
is one of the
I
first
don't
ones.
think so.
Those were like the breeding ground.
Yeah, I know. I'm quite honestly, I would be afraid to get on a cruise ship right now, but that's just me. I mean, everyone's different. This study was done from the USS Theodore Roosevelt. It was is that a cruise ship? It might not. No, I don't think that's a cruise ship.
No, that's
That's
a Navy ship.
yeah, there you go. Yeah, the Theodore Roosevelt, that kind of gives that away, huh? Anyway, all right. So what they're saying is that they found that once they instituted this mask coverings, that they found that the use of face coverings on board was associated with 70% reduced risk of COVID. So that's quite a bit. And there was even a research study that was done in Bangladesh. They got some villages masks and some villages didn't have masks. And, those findings have also been published to the CDC website. But they showed also as well that these masks really do work. And I just kind of wanted to research real quick and see, of course, the CDC is saying that kids it will not be breathing in heavy amounts of C2O. That they're not going to be dangerous. A lot of people worry that these masks, that the kids aren't going to be able to breathe. But the fact of the matter is that they don't interfere with a child's lung development. They don't weaken their immune system. And when correctly worn, they do reduce the spray of person's spit and respiratory droplets. And they say the kids should start masking it at over age 2. Okay. And they say that you shouldn't mask younger ones because of course they can't speak. And if there's a problem, they wouldn't be able to tell you that there's a problem. So that's why I thought it was just because, I can't imagine wrestling with a 3-year-old, let alone a 2-year-old or a 1-year-old getting that mask on. So I wasn't sure where they came up with that age. So that's why they said 2, just because of the inability to tell you that they're having problems. And that's really about it. I mean, other than it, everything that I found is just all reinforced. There's a place where you can, if you're having any side effects or any problems from the vaccine, it's called V-Safe. It's a smartphone app that you can download to your phone. And it helps you to report things to the CDC. And if there's a problem, and you report it in there, then the CDC will contact you. So it's also nice to know that, that you're not getting that shot and just being put out into the wild, that they are monitoring everything. So I thought that was really reassuring as well.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's about it,
Very good.
But yeah.
Very good. We've got the boosters coming now, so that's good. The boosters for the immunocompromised and potentially Pfizer will be approved for 5 to 11-year-olds. So that's coming. And so again, we just got to get on board.
Yeah, and another, just one more stat I do want to throw out there.
Sure.
I did read somewhere, and I don't know where it's in my notes here. Everyone who is sick right now, 1 in 4 of them are kids. It was at the beginning of the pandemic that they were saying the kids are the lucky ones, they weren't going to be getting sick. Well, everything has shifted and changed. And now it seems that, sick kids make up 25% of the COVID cases. So that's something to be concerned about as well, and again, with the long haul and everything, I mean, yes, they do have a better chance of surviving, but, there are a lot of kids out there who are suffering from long haul as well. So those are things to keep in mind.
We have to check on those characteristics, see if the long haulers are obese, overweight, So that
Yeah.
maybe next time, maybe next update, we'll have some information on that.
Okay.
All right, Georgine, thank you so much. Thank
Thank
you
you.
all so much for joining. Do you want to say anything to our audience there?
Get vaccinated, please.
Yes, thank you so much. All right, everybody, take care. God bless
Bye.
America.